Alright guys, here we are with Roxanne Ryan, who is standing in place for her son, Jake Ryan, political prisoner from the Wildlife Refuge. He is awaiting sentencing. He was found guilty of depredation of government property when he dug a trench to protect himself. He was out of fear of being ambushed the night after Lavoy Finicum was murdered on Highway 395. And he was found guilty of depredation of government property after going through a kangaroo trial, and his sentencing is coming up in a couple months. So tonight we'll be hearing from Roxanne Ryan more about the sentencing and the prep work that they're doing right now to try to prove the prosecution to be false in the numbers that they're presenting for what they're saying these guys owe. And so we're gonna go ahead and get started. Roxanne Ryan and the Jake Ryan family are not asking for, they have not been asking for funds or help this entire process, but she is standing in now for her son. She does have a goal of $5,000 that would be helping Jake prepare for the case that he's making at sentencing. They'll be traveling to Burns soon to do some work there and hiring some professionals to help dispute the high, ridiculous number that the federal government is attaching to the restitution for these political prisoners. So the goal is for her to be in here for 13 hours like Emma Bundy did, or $5,000, whichever comes first. She's like a mama bear to everybody, but the non-informant kind of mama bear. So if you guys could help and we could get her out of jail as quickly as possible, that would be awesome. Her PayPal link, Jake Ryan's PayPal link, is on this page. So actually I'm gonna get this set up on a tripod so you guys can hop over there and show Jake Ryan some love. He is an awesome, awesome kid who loves the Lord and loves his family and loves his neighbor. He is facing 10 years in federal prison and will be a felon, no right to bear arms, no right to vote. And his favorite thing to do in Plains, Montana was ballroom dancing. 24 years old. If that doesn't show you how messed up our system is on who they're incarcerating, I don't know what will.
The government's also seeking up to $100,000 of restitution.
Right, up to $100,000 restitution. They have a big case ahead of them to dispute this at sentencing. And sentencing is almost a trial within itself.
And we're sorry
we're so late. But we're not sorry. You guys will hang with us. I had people with me literally all night long the other night. So we had a little bit of excitement tonight with Gavin going down and speaking up for Josh. And then Ammon called and he gave a message that will get put out probably tomorrow. So we're a little bit behind around here.
And we're just glad that Gavin is here with us. He gave us all a scare.
He did give us all a scare. Metro had their hands on their guns and he was surrounded at one point. And I'm surprised he made it out.
Weren't they good cops for not shooting me?
They were so nice to not shoot him. So Roxanna, do you want to say anything about Jake or about what you guys are doing, preparing for his sentencing and all the work that's going into that?
Well, we're trying to get bids from different people on to prepare the restitution costs. The government is charging Dwayne and Jake for these trenches that were dug. And Jake's personal letter describes very well why the trenches were dug, and it was strictly for self-defense. They were scared for their life, and Jake really had his concern. our squabbles. There's leaders among us who take leadership positions naturally, and that's great. Let them take it. If they're doing what's right, let them take it. And be there to support.
They're saying that it's hard to hear. It must just be the wind.
You know what? If you lift that phone up a little bit.
You know how to. Got David Fleeman here. If you're back on right there, we go. David Fleeman's gonna help us out. David spent nearly every single day, maybe every single day, at the courthouse during this last trial.
That might help a little bit.
Carrying the water and the flags and. So again, for those just coming on, we've got Roxanne Ryan in the torture chamber. Thank you, Lindsay, for posting that again. Nancy, there's a PayPal link in this post. Lindsay, did I not put it in there? Yeah, I did. Wow, the wind is really bad tonight, guys. You're gonna have to bear with us. Let's get Roxanna out of here quickly because it's gonna get really chilly about 3 o'clock in the morning.
Okay, let's see if that helps the wind at all.
Yeah, ask the people.
That help?
Say something, Roxanne. See if the people hear you better.
You guys hear me out there?
Is that any better?
Well, we need to know if that's better first before we do that.
She's blocking the wind.
That's what that's supposed to do, though. Because if that works, we're good.
Goal,
Otherwise, we'll have to do
Lindsay.
more.
Goal, she really just wants to make it in here 13 hours, but if she raised $5,000 to help Jake, I think she'd probably come out of here, and if not, we might have to drag her out at some point, depending on how she's doing.
Well, that's ironic. 'Cause that's when Kelly was in. I'm like, we're going to drag you out. And she's like, no, you're not. If you do, I'll kick you.
That's different. This is Mama Ryan. We're not going to let her stand for 13 hours.
Okay, but if you scoot over, I'll bring these benches over and we'll use that and we'll make a windbreak.
All right.
So move the chair. Let's take that or something like it. Put it like here and tape it on maybe.
How's Jake doing, Roxana?
Doing okay. He chooses not to think about it as much as he can and try to be upbeat. He's always been upbeat. He's always told me, don't think negative, Mom. Just think positive. And that's just who Jake is. A very positive kid.
Tell me where you want him.
But
and I'll-
I know it's bothering him.
Do you want Roger to say anything for a few minutes? We're going to sit
Roger, you
close
made
to the camera. Roger.
Roger, a great friend that's done a lot of things to help everybody, and I want to thank him. And turn the time over to Roger.
You want me to back
Well,
it up?
an issue, obviously an issue in Jake's upcoming sentencing proceedings is the restitution claims of the government. It's really outrageous, I think. I don't want to get too deep into it at this time, but to me it's outrageous that
Good idea.
digging a trench on a piece of ground that was often dug previously
That makes a big
could be,
difference.
could subject someone to tens and tens of thousands of dollars of restitution claims. The government is absolutely right now trying to seek, what, 70 or 90, $75,000 restitution for digging a trench and actually just displacing the soil right next to the trench so that it could be just backfilled with, pushing it right back in. And frankly, I think a lot of people have wondered how that could even be depredation of federal property over $1,000 in any case. Anyway, there are a lot of aspects of this that need to be developed. I think some rival expertise needs to be brought online to look into, to compare the government's claims to. And by the way, also in Oregon, the guy's convicted of count 1, which includes a larger number of people. Count 1 in Oregon As a side note, the government is seeking as much as, I think, $900,000 restitution. And that includes a lot of people who pled guilty to count one up there. But Jake Ryan is facing, Jake and Dwayne Emmer both, just for digging 2 small trenches. And again, piling the dirt right next to the trenches. The government is seeking $75,000 restitution. And probably jail time as well.
So do you guys want to explain to us how much jail time Jake has already had, and maybe talk a little bit about the refuge and why, Roxanna, you know why he went. You took him there and had to leave him there, so maybe talk about why he went to the refuge to start with last January.
I didn't actually take him. He went with my husband and they went down there. We took supplies, or they took supplies down to them, and they literally fell in love with the people that were there. They struck a really good rapport with LaVoy and with Ryan and Hammond, and they went to support the cause for the Hammonds and to protest the unjust incarceration of them and what had happened to them. And Jake had a great desire to learn more and to just be of help wherever he could. And so he stayed and learned to love them, and just was enjoying the experience that he was having, and the growth that he was having, and the teachings that he was receiving from Shauna Cox and Hammond and LaVoy. And but then things went sour on the night that LaVoy was shot, and he called home and basically told us that he didn't think he was going to come home. He didn't think he was going to leave there alive. And the chaos had ensued. And that next morning, he noticed the excavator being used and went down to see if he could help, and that's when they dug the trench. Only for self-defense.
Can you describe how some of the government's claims about destroying sacred Indian lands, and the fact that on this same piece of ground there were, how many excavators and loaders and bulldozers right nearby, and you know.
There was many heavy equipment, machinery that was down there. Front end loaders, excavators, backhoes, and where they dug the trench was right next to the road itself. And the one trench was on an old abandoned road, and it had a phone cable in it, so it was already disturbed soil. And Jake says that there was absolutely nothing in the soil, and he was very careful, but there was absolutely nothing there. It was already disturbed dirt.
And how did you know it was disturbed?
Well, by the dirt itself within the trench and the phone cable that was in the one trench.
And would there be any other way to get the phone cables in the trench other than to have previously dug there?
No.
Unless you're God?
Right. And I don't think the Indians had phone cables.
That's right.
Anyway, I wish you could read Jake's letter. It's very sincere and very honest, how he expressed the awful fear that they felt, knowing about Waco, knowing about Ruby Ridge, Jake had had personal experience with families and friends that we have known that have been persecuted by the law. A dear friend by the name of Ren Bodecker, a 92-year-old vet that we watched be stripped of everything that he owned, his home, his life savings, his health, and eventually it killed him. And Jake had watched this happen to this man through a bankruptcy trustee. And he had grown very close to this man. And Jake is a very tender-hearted man who hates to see people suffer, but loves to see people live free and be free. And so he had seen a lot growing up of people abused, and when he heard about the Hammonds, he wanted to go and he wanted to help, and that's why he went. There's a lot more that we could share, but perhaps we shouldn't at this time, probably.
All right. Well, I think you've done great. Who else?
So tell us about Jake. When Jake comes to my house, he plays on the trampoline and gives my kids piggyback rides and climbs around on the floor like a puppy. And you know, maybe tell people about Jake. Some people, the only thing they know about these guys is their mugshot. You know, is Jake worthy of 10 years in federal prison and a $100,000 fine? And what does he do at home? And what kind of a kid is he?
He is a kid at heart who loves kids. His greatest joy comes in teaching youth. He loves to teach and help with the high school in drama. He was homeschooled, but we got into drama when he was young, and we put on several plays as a family, and then he carried that forth, and his greatest thrill comes when he's able to help somebody learn something. And he loved helping the kids in their drama class and helping them to be good actors. This always brought a great joy to him. He loves to dance. He loves to teach kids how to dance. He loves to play frisbee. He loves to go hiking. He loves to just do so many things. He loves life, and he loves to see people enjoy life. And he wants people to be free. And it really hurts him when he sees these good people suffer at the hands of tyrannical agencies that have gone far beyond what they were meant to be. There's so much that's happened in our nation. The overreach, the unaccountability, but more than that, what has made our nation suffer is because we the people.
Is he your oldest son? How many children do you have, Roxanne?
I have 13 kids, and I want to tell them all thank you for letting me be here, and they all wanted to be here with me, so they're at home, and I love them. But it's we the people that have gone to sleep, and it's we the people who have not been the watchdogs of our nation. And to all the Christians out there that say God will take care of it, God's in control. Well, God is in control. But He didn't give us hands to be idle. And He didn't give us a head to not use. And He didn't give us a heart to not feel. And if we don't start feeling and thinking and doing what we are supposed to do as free men, as a gift given to us by our predecessors, then we have failed. And I guess that's why I'm here. wipe my nose.
There's nothing wrong with somebody else wiping their nose, right?
Who has a handkerchief around here?
No rules about this.
Yeah.
The heck with it.
We need to increase the
break the rules for it.
we need to increase the pressure on the donors here. If 2,000 isn't raised by a given hour, Roxanna is going to be subject to what?
No.
After hearing
Some
the
minor
testimony,
stoning.
If I had the money, I'd give it to her. God.
And by midnight, if 3,000 hasn't been raised by midnight, cattle prods will be used.
Well, the sheriff certainly wouldn't mind that as long as it was policy.
You're right. Right.
America means a lot to me. When I was 14, we homesteaded up in British Columbia, and I'll never forget when we crossed the border and we watched Old Glory disappear. And that was really hard because I loved this nation. And I loved what it stood for. But it doesn't stand for that anymore. And like Ren Bodecker said, I'm ashamed as a veteran. I'm ashamed of what our nation has gone through. And let's bring it back, guys. Let's stand behind these patriots. Let's stand behind what's right. If we all had the boldness of Gavin and the gentleness of a lamb, then we could do something. And we can all do something. I don't know, there's just something about this nation that we need to keep alive, and we're letting it die. And that's sad. And that's why I'm here. I wanted to experience what Evan went through. And being in here, you can't even really compare it to what Evan went through. I know I'm not going to die. I know these guys are going to let me out, right?
Don't be so sure.
And I didn't have anybody beating me up or stripping me of my clothes. So it's not a tenth of what Ammon felt. And not just Ammon. There's Schaefer Coxes all over out there. There's David Hinksons. There's so many out there, people that are suffering, that are innocent, that haven't done anything. And we've allowed it to happen. And it's time we quit. It's time we quit. Thank you all. Thank you all for being here.
They need, someone just commented they need the PayPal info again, please.
Yes, let me, hang on, I'm grabbing it. I'm trying to get sorted and sharing stuff here. Here we go. So,
My allergies are bothering me again. It's all this wind, you know?
And the other thing I ask is that all you that have been persecuted and hurt, don't keep your story secret anymore. Get your story out there. Let people know. We are trying to put together an organization. Well, we have put together an organization. Well, we're trying to get some testimonies to the Congress or to the Senate or to both. It's out there for people to read, because there's too many of our, especially our older people, who have suffered for years at the hands of these agencies, and they're going to leave us without letting their story out there. And we need to know. We need to know their stories and not let them go in vain for what they have fought for and what they have done. I think of George Parman, Ben Colvin, Chris Gardner, and the list can go on and on and on and on. So don't let your story be silent anymore. Learn to speak up. Learn to let people know. Because silence only silence don't help freedom or liberty.
Do you have anything to say to President Trump?
What would I say to President Trump? I think I'd first say I don't want your job. I wouldn't want your job. But I would say you have been given a position that requires integrity and honor and doing the right things. You're one man, and one man alone can't turn this nation around. I know that. But you have a chance to help steer that. You can pardon these political prisoners, and that would be a step that would mean a great deal to so many in this nation. But what I'd say to you most is, you have been given a land that had a constitution. You have a law of the land. And if you will just adhere to that constitution and stay within the framework of that constitution and see that those under you maintain the boundaries of that constitution, then eventually right will prevail again in this nation. And so I say to you, President Trump, stay within the boundaries that has been outlined by our predecessors. Maintain the Constitution and demand that those under you maintain the Constitution. Hold fast to the morals that made this great country once great.
Can you talk for a minute, Roxanna, about the constitutional violations in the Hammond case that caused Jake to even go there? If you're talking about reinstating the Constitution, we're actually, let's go back even farther. Let's talk about Jake's upbringing. How important was the Constitution in your household?
We homeschooled, and my text for writing and for a lot of things was the Constitution, in which I would have them write about the Constitution. I would have them take a certain aspect out of it and write what it meant to them, to define what it meant, to define the words in it, to memorize it, to learn the history of those that gave it to us, to understand that it came from our Creator, and that the man who suffered and wrote it did it at the expense and the aspect of knowing that they could lose everything they had, including their life, their fortune, and their fame.
So would you talk, when you're homeschooling, would you guys talk about how you would maybe someday defend the Constitution? I mean, was it a part of Jake to just know that if there were violations, that it was his obligation to stand up?
Yes. Yeah. I remember as a little boy, there was a family that was in our homeschool co-op. And Jake came home to me one day and he says, "Mom, you got to do something. You got to do something to help this family." And they had been harassed by the courts and police in California. And to spare, they had come in to get their kids. And so the father had sent his kids to Oregon to keep them together. And I'll never forget the letter that I read from the mother of this family. And it tore your heart out to read of the plight that she went through and of the harassment that they had received. you couldn't read it without just bawling because of the hurt this family had gone through. And Jake said, we need to help Mom, we need to help them do something. We need to take the kids in, we need to help them. And he's always been that way. That's just the way he was. He always stood for the truth and the Constitution.
Did it surprise you when you guys were at the refuge and it was time to leave and Jake said he was going to stay, and how as a mom did you respond?
I wasn't surprised, and neither was his dad. I knew he was going to. That's just who Jake is. He's just there when someone wants help, and he's there to help and do all he can to help the cause. And it doesn't matter what it is. If something needs done, he's there to do it.
So he said he was going to stay there to protest the wrongful second indictment of Dwight and Steve Hammond. Did you think that after you got the call that Lavoy Finicum had been murdered, what did you think after that? Because I know that his charges stem from the action he took after the murder of Lavoy, which was digging the trench out of fear that those MRAPs would drive right in over them. So after Lavoy was killed, what was going on in your mind knowing your little boy was in that facility?
I didn't think he was going to come home. We had got the phone calls from him, and I walked out to do chores and met his older brother. I said to his older brother, Lavoy's been murdered, and Jake doesn't think he's coming home. So we just...
Do you remember meeting Lavoy when you went to the refuge?
I didn't ever go. I didn't get to go to the refuge.
Did Jake share anything about how he felt after Lavoy was killed when you guys spoke?
Yeah, he feared for their lives. He had images of Waco and Ruby Ridge, and they just didn't know what was going to happen.
And then how long was he at the refuge after Lavoy was killed, and how did he come out?
He walked out on Saturday night very, very late and went through the checkpoint, and he was promised he would not be arrested, and then my husband went down and got him Sunday from Burns and brought him home.
So they promised him that he would not be arrested. Wow. And when did you learn that he was being criminally prosecuted?
It was about 2 weeks after. But like I said, this is more than just Jake. Guys, this is more than just about Jake. It's about all of us, everywhere. It's about us being human beings. And that's what's important. So we start dreaming again, and being free, and thinking free, and living free, and quit being victims. Quit thinking of ourselves as victims, but as free men, like God intended us to be. And I don't know. Our Creator created us to love and to be kind. And we need to return to that. And that's what I hope. I hope more than anything that we learn this before it's too late. I don't know, that's all I have to say right now. Just thank you all for everything. There's been so many good people that I've met that have given so much. So many of them are here, so many of them are in Montana, so many of them are everywhere. For all the letters that have come to Jake, he's received so many letters of support. And it means a great deal. So thank you.
How about a big round of applause for Roxanne Ryan? Should I?